is Stephanie Dureau, and this is my testimony. I am not going to be long-winded, so that's good. I grew up in church. I grew up knowing that God existed. I grew up knowing that God was real, but I did not actually seek him to understand him on a more intimate level until like really grade 11, grade 12. I went through a period of depression. I had low self-esteem, zero confidence. I was lonely. I was dealing with father and mother wounds that I wasn't even aware of at the time. But God really spoke to me and reminded me that I was on this earth for a reason and for a purpose, right? And if I were to tell you that after that moment, I was on fire for God every single day, that would be a complete lie. Because even as I was seeking him, even as I was worshiping, even as I was longing to understand him more and more, I really had to fight with whether I wanted to be lukewarm or 100% for the kingdom and for the kingdom alone, right? There were times after that intimate incident that I did backslide, like a little boop, not like all the way, but like a little boop, boop, a little bit. But God's grace was still sufficient. My testimony is, whenever I tried to fit in, God did not allow it. My testimony is, I was once depressed. Now I know who I am. I have peace of mind. I once couldn't be able to smile, but now I smile every day, right? Because of God's love. Like, my testimony is, I was wounded. My heart was broken. There were many wounds that I just ignored, but God healed every single wound in me. My father who left me when I was younger, who I couldn't even speak to, I now can communicate with. Not because he apologized, because God has allowed me to forgive him. God healed that father wound in me. My testimony is I'm not who I used to be. I'm not who I used, like, I don't do the things I used to do, because God honestly restored who I am. He's still doing it. He's still healing me. He's still delivering me, right? And I wanted to say this as well in this clip. I am 20 years old. I am a 20-year-old female after the kingdom. And it's not easy being young and pursuing God, because you're going to see many people who are your age and who are around your age range not pursuing him the same way you're pursuing him. And you may think, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I taking this so seriously? It's because God called you. It's because God called you, right? And although you may think you're too young, you're not. You're not. Although you may think you're not prepared, that is not the case, because God never gives you what you cannot handle. So I want to encourage someone who may be thinking, like, I'm too young for all this. Maybe I should just live my life a little bit and then come back to it. That is a huge no, sis or bro. Don't do it. Because you don't know where you'll be tomorrow. Use this time right now, and use the time that you have to seek him, because at the end of the day, he's calling you out. If you're watching this video right now, God has called you out, not only to seek him, but to be used by him, not only to know him, but to experience him in his fullest, like to really understand who God is and to really understand who you are in him. If you're watching this video right now, I'm telling you, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake, right? Although, like, maybe your life is dirty. Sorry, maybe that neck was a bit too rude, but sorry, maybe your life is dirty. That does not matter, because God, he purifies us. He sanctifies us. He cleanses us. So if you're watching this video right now and you think you're too young to be a prophet or a pastor or an evangelist or whatever God is calling you to be, that is a lie from hell. You're not too young. God called you out knowing who you are and knowing what you can do. Right? So be encouraged. God got you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's it. Be encouraged also by the video after this. If this has helped you in any way, please let me know. Like, I honestly want to hear how this is impacting you. But thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. One more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing. Running away from what God is calling you to do is not smart. And it's not the best option. The Bible says the Bible says God knew you in your mother's womb. In your mother's womb. He knew you and he called you out. Right? And who God calls, he justifies. Don't allow the unknown to cause you to fear. Don't allow what God is showing you bits of to cause you to run away. Because at the end of the day, you're not doing it on your own strength. We do everything. God gives us grace to complete. He gives us his strength to do whatever he is calling us to do. And he is looking for a willing vessel, someone who is willing to say, Lord, I don't know how, I don't know why, but here I am, willing, use me according to what, use me, just use me. I do have a quick encouragement. It's not going to be for everybody, but I know this is for someone, because I feel led to post, so here it is. So this is for someone who is currently asking the question, why me? You don't know who you are. You don't know why God called you. You're searching for an answer, but you can't find it, right? But I want to remind you that the focus should always be on Jesus and not on yourself. If the question why me is not targeted well, it will leave you in a state of confusion. Right? You will understand the entirety of who you are when you first understand who God is, right? Because we are found in him. So you're asking, who am I? When that is a small piece to a full picture. The full picture is Jesus. If you focus on the full picture being Jesus, you will understand the smaller pieces a whole lot better and where they fit in the picture as well. The enemy will try his best to cause you to doubt yourself, right? Which you should. We should never trust in our flesh. But any means necessary, doubt your flesh, deny your flesh, right? Because our confidence is not in ourselves. Our confidence is in God. It's in Jesus. Our confidence is in the God in us. Damage is done when you doubt yourself, when you deny your flesh, but then you don't trust God. That is where damage is done. That is where you begin to find yourself in the sinking sand. We should always focus on Jesus, right? Our focus should not come off of him. So Peter was walking on water, right? But he began to sink because he saw the water. He saw the waves, he saw the wind, he saw the storm. And then he ended up sinking. Peter began to sink because he allowed the storm to make him believe it was no longer possible to walk on water. Right? He doubted and believed it was no longer possible. It could have been a sunny day, the waters could have been still, right? But you have to choose, are you going to allow what is happening around you to cause you to no longer believe in what God has already spoken to you? When Peter was walking on water and before he began to sink, Peter had to choose if he would focus on the ability to walk on water or focus on the God that allowed him to walk on water, right? Peter forgot it was God, and that was why he began to sink. He allowed the storm around him to cause him to shift what he believed prior. He no longer believed that Jesus could allow him to walk on water, if that makes sense, right? He then, I believe he started to question. He's like, how is this possible? I'm walking on water. It doesn't make sense, right? And that caused him to move his faith. He allowed his faith to be moved. You have to choose if you're going to focus on your ability or if you're going to focus on God in you that empowers you to do all things, right? The storms around you should never cause you to move your faith. What people are saying about you, what you think about yourself should not cause you to forget that God called you. Don't forget that God is in you. Don't forget that it is God that empowers you to do all things. Don't forget that it is God in you that graces you to walk everything out. It is in God, it is in him you move and you have your being, right? We are who we are by the grace of God, right? Like, he keeps us. He sustains us, right? So when you're asking yourself, who am I? Target your question. Target your question. Lord, who are you in me? Who am I that you have chosen me? Who am I that you are mindful of me? Who am I that you have called me, right? It is when you pursue and you see God and understand and pursue to understand more of him where you begin to understand more of who you are. If you worry about your weaknesses, your inabilities, what others are doing, you will begin to sink in the knowledge of who you are in Jesus, right? Remember, it is in Jesus where we move and we have our being, right? It is him who graces us to do all things. Who we are, our identity is found in him alone, right? You will stop sinking when you ask Jesus, who are you? The key is to look in the inside of you to understand what is on the outside of you, right? And I pray this will be a prayer every day. Lord, who are you? Lord, who are you in me? And I do pray that you would not be moved by anything. I pray that you would choose not to be moved by anything. And that you would remain firm in the word of God and remain firm in who God is, right? And who he is calling you to be. I pray that you would doubt your flesh, that you would doubt yourself and trust in him. Always. Always. And I'll just leave you with John 14:1 that says, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me.
Walking in purpose.